Welcome to my world, bitch.
Get ready for the ultimate showdown. How about get ready for the ultimate letdown? Freddy vs. Jason. Even the title alone sounds fucking awful. Now, I did a short on Nightmare on Elm Street and an entire review on Friday the 13th series in the hope that I wouldn't have to go near this piece of shit. But after quite a few people asked why I hadn't mentioned it even in passing, I decided I'd give it a proper shitcasing. It's not going to be fun, but it's got to be done.
Place your bets!
My bet is this film's going to suck. What are the odds on that?
I'm not answering that, neither is she.
Anyway, let's get on with the show. You may recall my Alien vs Predator review a while back. Now, that film came out just after Freddy vs Jason, I believe, although I may be wrong. But what on earth was going through film executives' minds at that period of time? Obviously not very much, because both movies suck. 4 huge franchises, and they managed to drag all of them through the dirt and shit all over them for good measure. Whereas AVP was dumbed down in terms of violence and swearing, Freddy vs Jason at least sticks to the customary 18 rating, so as you can imagine it's full of violence, sex, drugs and swearing. It's how a film like this should be. Yet the way it's put together makes you wish they'd gone for a childish approach like they did with AVP. Now, before I sat down to watch Freddy vs Jason again, I'd not seen it since about late 2003 I think, when I watched it with a few people at my house. We all agreed it was terrible. I'd grown up laughing my ass off at Freddy and Jason films, but putting them together was always going to be a joke. So, for all these years, ever since I saw the Freddy vs Jason movie, I've always had these negative memories of the film, and when I watched it back again, I forgot how really bad it truly is. Some people even look at it as dumb comical fun, but you can only offer that viewpoint if you're a fan of the latter Nightmare and Friday the 13th films, which are all bloody awful. If this movie had been in the same vein and spirit of the early films of both franchises, then it would have been dark, scary and probably pretty good, but all this offers is a lame storyline which is embarrassing, an abundance of bad jokes, shit acting, predictable death scenes and cliché after cliché. This scene really pisses me off for some reason. The blonde girl is telling friends of a dream she had about Freddy, but she's not sure who he is, nor is anyone else, so she goes on a detailed description of him, which is boring as hell because we know who it is, so just get on with the fucking story. The entire school seemed to be standing around and listening as well, which bugged me a great deal. And then she starts reciting the 1-2 Freddy's Coming For You song. This asshole appears to literally take the words out of her mouth and finish it off. I mean, it's just embarrassing. I hate this film. I guess if you're drunk or stoned or just a fucking retard, then you'll find this movie somewhat satisfying. But I watched this completely sober and found it really hard going. I mean, yeah, I chuckled a few times at certain scenes, such as the guy getting snapped in half in his bed, or Freddy shagging a dead bird, but that's only because I've got a sick sense of humour. Other than this, the film is majorly lacklustre and offers nothing. You'd think that having twice the amount of bad guys, it'd be twice as good, but no, it's twice as bad. No, wait, it's beyond bad. Fucking awful, and I really don't fancy talking about it, so let's get this over with. The basic plotline is that Freddy's bored spending his, for lack of a better word, retirement in hell because nobody believes in him anymore. Therefore he can't enter their dreams, so he decides to resurrect Jason to go around striking fear into people, so then Freddy can then come back. Now, I don't know about you, but that is the most fucking ridiculous storyline I've ever come across. I'm surprised they didn't actually go as far as showing Freddy sitting in hell playing a game of chess or twiddling his thumbs in pure boredom. There's naturally the stereotypical bunch of teenagers, and this group is so fucking predictable. Stuff like this really gets on my tits. There's the arrogant womanizer, the hardcore drinking chick, the stoner, the geek, the virgin, the guy that the virgin fancies, the paranoid guy who seems to know exactly what is going on all of the time, and a token black character who also appears to be a member of the girl group Destiny's Child. Say no more. I mean, look at this scene. I guess being in a motoring accident is obviously not damaging to the human body when not wearing seatbelts, but poor Jason flies out like he's got a fucking rocket up his ass. This is so ridiculous. There's some pretty cool and morbidly amusing death scenes courtesy of Freddy and Jason, some random scenes like Miss Destiny's Child losing her nose, Jason turning up at a rave party, which is taking place in a cornfield. Yeah, that's right, a cornfield. Now I don't know about you, but if I got invited to a rave party in the middle of a fucking farmer's field, I'd be conveniently washing my hair that night. Then there's the part where Freddy appears as a caterpillar and smokes a bone. What the fuck? Now, this happens in the presence of the stoner teenager, which kind of makes sense, but it's so cringeworthy. It can be seen as humorous, which I can understand, but it's so ridiculous that it's not even funny. Going back to when I first witnessed this with a few select people, none of us could believe our eyes, and I felt like turning the movie off at that point. But anyway, moving on, we finally get to see some bullshit fights between Freddy and Jason. See, that's what we've been wanting to see, not a bunch of arsehole so-called teenagers who all look 10 years too old to fit the teenage bracket. After all, the film is called Freddy vs Jason, so it's about time we got to see some action. The fights between Freddy and Jason are purely for show and, well, they're pretty shit to be honest. Take this scene for example. Freddy uses Jason as a ball, like in a pinball game. I mean, for God's sake, it's even got the sound effects you hear when playing a pinball game. There's nothing to say on the matter. The comedic value is terrible. And why the fuck does Jason turn into a little kid again like he did in Friday the 13th Part 8? He's still got the hockey mask on, for God's sake. This is so bad. So, anyway, blah blah blah. This film is so shit, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Freddy and Jason have one more final battle, and this part here says everything there is to say about the battle. The piss poor acting from the remaining so-called teenagers makes you crave for them to die, but they don't.
It's because I saw your dad kill your mom.
He has ruined both of our pasts, and I am not leaving until I see him die.
Both villains die though, and they're laid to rest in the lake. But as the film comes to a close, Jason walks off with Freddy's head and he winks. So does that mean he's alive and fit for a sequel? Well, thankfully a sequel never came about. But in retrospect, I think this would have been a better way to go. Instead of remaking Friday the 13th and the future plans for a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I'm not kidding when I say that people who sanction these plans need hanging and then stoning. Or stoning and then hanging. And having their balls pulled off for good measure. Or, how about tying them to a chair and making them watch Freddy vs Jason over and over until they finally have a fucking brain hemorrhage? So there you go. I didn't want to review this bag of wank, but now it's done. All I can seriously say is go watch it for yourself and draw your own conclusions, but as far as I'm concerned, it was a lame attempt at resurrecting both franchises, and they simply dug up their graves and shit on them. 4.5 out of 10.